The EIN, Employer Identification Number, is a tax identifier issued by the IRS, which stands for Internal Revenue Service. The IRS is a federal tax agency of the United States. The EIN is issued to a U.S. company or to a non-American company doing business in the United States. The EIN is issued on request only, so it is not automatic. This request is usually made at the beginning of the company's existence. This tax number is a sequence of 9 digits, the first 2 being separated from the next 7 by a hyphen. In popular language, the EIN is also known by various other names. FEIN for Federal Employer Identification Number, Tax ID, where ID stands for Identification Document, Federal Tax ID, or TIN for Tax Identification Number. The primary purpose of the EIN is to identify your company from a federal tax point of view. But in reality, this number is used by all levels of taxation in the United States: federal, state, county, city, etc. In addition, the EIN is used by almost all participants in the U.S. financial system. For example, the EIN is essential for opening your company's bank account in the United States. Without this number, it is absolutely impossible to open a business bank account on U.S. soil. The situation is the same if you want to open a PayPal account for your company. In short, the EIN is the equivalent for a business of the Social Security number for an individual. Finally, here are 3 points you should remember. Point 1. It is impossible for your company to do business in the United States without an EIN. From a tax perspective, some American accountants and tax experts will tell you that this number is mandatory for corporations, but not necessarily for LLCs. The problem is that it is impossible for an LLC to open a bank account if it does not have an EIN. Therefore, this number is always requested for corporations and LLCs. On the other hand, it may happen that some LLCs, owned by foreigners, without a U.S. establishment and that do not do business on American soil, do not request the issuance of an EIN. In any case, it is always advisable to consult a U.S. accountant or tax specialist to find out about your company's tax rights and obligations in the United States. Point 2. Contrary to what can be seen in Europe, it is rare that the EIN of a U.S. company is indicated on its invoices. Point 3. There is more and more identity theft in the United States, even at the corporate level. In this context, it is quite surprising that the EIN of a company established in Florida is entered on the public register of that state.